quick note before we start. If you're hearing this episode the day it comes out, January 2nd, 2023, then today you can go to The Yeti, that's THEYETEE.com, and see some JoJo's Bizarre Adventure shirts, including one called Bizarre Ocean Blues by friend of the show, Hello Winter. It's fantastic. I love this design. It's got Jolene and her dad, the hat guy. Again, this is a shirt of the day. You've only got today, January 2nd, to go check it out. And please, go, do that. And now, the show. Happy New Year and welcome to Bizarre Podcast Dogs Must Die. My name is Grant. You can call him Chip. And today we are taking a break to welcome a very special guest. Please introduce yourself as you would like to be introduced.
I am Cameron Kunzelman of various locations and times and spaces. And my stand is Cameron Kunzelman of Range Touch. Grant, beforehand when you were explaining this, Grant, you said something about my feet. I didn't care for that. I don't know what you were saying, feet before or after, but so I'm not doing anything RE feet. But that's my introduction.
Fantastic. Our format, our rotation, our system usually includes, at this point in a season, having someone on who is a fan or somehow engaged with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure to talk about this first portion with us. We're changing things up. There's a bit of an experiment being tried here. And in order to explain what I mean by that, I'm just going to dive in to what is our traditional first question to a guest. So Cameron, what is your experience with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? What brought you to us here today?
Of course. Well, what a great question. And one I appreciate and one I'm eager to answer. So about, a month ago, somewhere in that, you said, hey, would you like to be on the show? Well, you extended the invitation to Michael Lutz and I, my Range Touch partner in crime. Across the board, due to scheduling conflicts, Michael is not able to be with us. I have a statement to read from him later in the show in order to do that. But so, if people were tuning in for Michael, unfortunately, he is not here. But you said, are you interested in doing that? And I said, well, what does that entail? Because I've never seen a JoJo's before, nor do I know what it is, other than an anime thing and also a manga thing, right?
Correct on both counts, yes.
Okay, great. So I didn't know anything about it. And I am a, qu'est-ce que c'est, fool when it comes to anime in a general sense. I am the most stereotypical white man on the internet because I've seen Cowboy Bebop, right? I've seen 5 episodes of Nozaki-kun.
Sure, all right.
I've seen Akira. I've seen Perfect Blue. And we might be getting to the bottom of my knowledge of
and you've seen 12 episodes of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean.
Correct. So I have watched now the first 12 episodes. And here's a little tidbit for you. So I did mention about a month ago you suggested this to me. And in my head, again, much like a fool, I thought, what could half a season be? You know, because I think you said something, or maybe for part 1 or something like that, maybe for what this constitutes. I don't remember the exact phrasing. I thought, what could that be? 4 episodes? We're recording this on a Monday, and on Sunday, which is yesterday, that was really the first time I looked to see how many episodes I had to watch. It was about 2 p.m. when you said, hey, just a quick, you sent a little Discord message. You said, hey, just checking in. Everyone's done their homework, ready to do it. I said, oh, yeah, sure. Whatever. Almost done. When in reality, I had not begun whatsoever. When you said homework, it got some bad habits back out of me. I was like, oh, yeah, we got that covered. Yeah. So, yeah, somewhere around 2 p.m. yesterday, and it being about 7 p.m. today, I began watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and watched about 6 hours in a row.
That's what it is. Yeah, it's about 6 hours.
Yep. And so I did that. I watched 5.5 hours, and then, like I do for mini podcasts, I wanted to finish it right beforehand. I wanted the end of it to be very fresh in my mind. I like to do that on some Range Touch podcasts. I like to read the end of a book or the last chapter of a book right before the episode. So, it's really effectively right.
So you just saw Jolene taken out on a stretcher.
I did. I just saw that.
Yeah,
I just saw a rain of poison frogs. I literally less than an hour ago. I was eating a cactus. What's the dish?
Raw is the word. Yeah.
No, not that. The dish that is wrapped up in a corn husk. You know what I'm talking about? Oh, let me Google. Oh, I could probably ask you some JoJo-ass question. Who is the protagonist of season 2? You'll know that, but you don't know the corn husk food.
A tamale. You
Tamales.
mean a tamale?
Yeah. I was eating a cactus tamale, watching Jolene get beat the hell up, but not really. Got shot. Bing, bang, boom. So yeah, I've seen all that. So it's all fresh. It's an open wound of experience. It's not bad. I think some people probably, if you've got a guest coming in and they don't know about it, and it's like something so resolutely odd, like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I think there's probably a little bit of pleasure in someone else's pain. Like they want to hear me hate it. I don't hate it. I've read Homestuck. Nothing can harm me.
But before we get into that, I want to assure the viewer, the listener, that I'm not looking for anyone's pain. I'm looking for engagement. See, the idea came to me when we were recording an episode that coincidentally came out the day we're recording this on Manga in Theory and Practice, Hirohiko Araki's how-to book. Cameron, I think you would really enjoy listening to that episode.
Okay. The craft of creating manga. I see. Oh, yes. Looks like got a great cover. I'm going to order it right now. It better be good, Grant. I'm going to freak out if I'm wasting my money.
And something that came up I'm suggesting you listen to the episode. After that, you can decide if you want to buy the book.
No.
But in that discussion, I mentioned that after doing this for almost 2 years now, after reading the book about how the guy that makes the story makes stories, I'm not the new guy anymore.
Yeah.
So I thought, I gotta get a new guy. We got to be true to how the show began. We got to get a new guy, and the new guys, because again, I did invite Michael Lutz as well, that were on top of my list, are the people who on their shows often say that media objects teach you how to read them. Yeah,
it is astonishing how quickly in a JoJo's experience you can just start going, "Oh yeah, that makes sense."
Yes.
So yeah, what was that experience like for this particular television program, adapted from a 20-year-old manga at this point?
Well, this is part of the fascinating thing about the JoJo's, as it were. I have no idea in what order events occurred, and it doesn't seem to matter. I don't think I could tell you a lot of what I saw, but I don't think I could tell you what happened in the order it happened, you know? She was in one jail and went to another jail. I can get you that one. She fought the woman that makes people small. She fought the person that takes over other people. There's a baseball fight. You know what I mean? These are all...
There's a deadly game of catch, yes.
Yeah, just the highest stakes game of catch that anyone's ever been involved in. So, but it's kind of astonishing how quickly you absorb the rules of JoJo's. And it's partially because they explain it every time, you know. It's almost like children's television. Have y'all talked about that before?
No, but I do see what you mean. Yes.
Well, it's like, hey, this is the character. Their name's this. They got a creature that lives in their brain or something. I don't really know. I don't know the mechanics here, right? But they've got this fella that lives with them. Their name's blah. They do blah. Do you remember what they do after the commercial break? They do blah. Let's watch them do blah. There's a complication here. We're going to think about it in monologue for about 7 minutes. Next commercial break, let's resolve the blah. You know, it's very formulaic. And if you told me that that the book on how to do it was a book of formulas, I would not be surprised if it was just like a shitload of math. But yeah, so it's that, and part of that is just the like broad genre that it's in, right? Like it's serial media. It's serial media that is obviously produced, if not originally with commercial breaks in it, then it holds on to that as a form. And it never like shoots too far from the plot parts, right? Like at the end of everybody, anytime that anyone speaks in the thing, where we are in the plot and what just happened as it relates to the plot, like the events of things going forward, is always reiterated. It's like Mr. Rogers telling us like why we're at the candy factory, right? Like we're here at the candy factory to learn how they make candy. Mrs. Jeff, can you tell us how they make candy? Remember, we're making candy. Remember, there's a guy who controls the weather.
Speaking of that book being full of formulas, I just put in the Discord chat a picture I took of the back cover that has an excerpt with the big essential formula in the book. It's so central. It is the back cover excerpt that you see while deciding whether to buy this book or not.
Kisho Tenketsu. Is that it?
There it is. There it is.
Introduction, development, twist, and resolution. I mean, that's true. Maybe that's all stories. The trouble with the world is there's only one story. It's only got 4 parts. And notably, right, don't those coincide with the act breaks in a television program?
He's figured it out, man. That's why he's been writing this series for about as long as I've been alive.
I mean, shout out to him. It's fun stuff.
While I'm trying to decode the results of this experiment, something about this selection, this 12-episode hunk, is that it starts and ends with big callbacks to previous parts. How was that?
Anytime there's a flashback, I assume that's a deadly important person that I'm supposed to know about. And I just kind of accept that. I was more intrigued by the fact that there are multiple references to the film Magnolia. Yeah, the guy who ends up in prison because he shot the person with a shotgun outside the window as they were killing themselves, that is from Magnolia. It's from the intro to Magnolia. And then the Plague of Frogs is the end of Magnolia. It's weird.
Why hasn't there been an Amy Mann stand?
Oh, I mean, yeah, that's right. The Save Me.
Yes.
It could just be called Save Me. And it would, let's see, hold on. Let me spin this up. Let me use my powers of wonderment to spin this up. All right, Save Me, Amy Mann, guitars. It would be
recent Grammy winner for Best Folk Album.
No, so we got to go back. I'm wrong. Okay. It's not Save Me. It's named Voices Carry.
Yes.
And
yes.
Oh shit.
It like removes echoes or produces too many echoes.
Okay. Yeah.
So you can't hear yourself, you can't communicate, but also you can get like a feedback loop going, and it'll like blitz you out. So you got to run away because it seems like most problems in the JoJo universe can be resolved by moving about 20 meters away from wherever you are. And people say that very directly. They're like, I think my range is only 20 meters. I'm gonna have to go.
That is in fact a very like part 4 of JoJo stand power that would fit right in with the other characters.
The most deadly person, or perhaps the greatest survivor, is just someone who's very socially avoidant.
Yes, just don't be around. God, that guy with the Jumpin' Jack Flash or whatever his name was.
Lang Wrangler.
Yeah, he's scary. He's a scary dude. Is he a callback or is he original to this part?
He's original. The big important callbacks are Jolene's dad, who was the part 3 protagonist.
Jotaro.
Yes.
Jotaro.
Yes.
Cujo.
And the golden man with the big platform elf shoes in the episode 12 flashback.
The man who tries to go to heaven.
Yes.
He is also in a previous flashback when the sniper guy's powers are being explained and his motivation.
Yes.
I believe he is also in that flashback.
He's a devotee of that man, Dio, yes.
Right. So I remembered that, so I thought, okay, this is like a previous character from some other thing. I did get that.
He is the main antagonist of both the first and third parts.
And also kind of dead after part 3, but most of the problems everyone else faces is a ripple effect of that guy. Just sucking so hard.
He seems like a huge asshole.
Oh, yeah.
So I picked all that up. Easy.
Right. So if you were to keep watching, for fun, for personal enjoyment, Do you think you would continue on from here, or would you rather like start over from the beginning with part 1 back in, this may surprise you, Victorian vampire times with 2 young boys competing for father's favor?
I'm really tumbling that one around in the old dome up here.
Or I guess option number 3, part 3, where Jolene's dad is our big teenage hero.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess that's a question. He's the only person I've ever seen from this entire thing. I'm only aware of him and his like hat that is also his hair.
Yes.
He is the big time poster boy for all of JoJo. He is a
okay.
Big
so that's not just me mistaking it. He is like the dude.
Yeah, and he's also just because he is the dude. He is the guy who shows up He's the most recurring JoJo character.
Mm-hmm.
Part 3, part 4, slightly in part 5, back in 6. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta be honest. It really kind of so I this might be purely sinful to the audience here.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the dub.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had to watch 6 hours in a row, and I just didn't want to read
Sure.
that much. And also my very brave wife, who people might know from Just King Things, was watching it with me. Someone who notoriously hates all animated media, agnostic of its originary location or form.
Mm-hmm.
Minions, no thank you. You know, any of that. She just doesn't care for it. Try to watch BoJack Horseman. And
part 5 has minions.
It does.
Whoa, really? There's a minion?
They live in a guy's gun.
Cool. Do they like papaya banana and all that stuff?
They like to eat salami, and if they don't get fed salami, they go on strike.
And they won't like let the gun go?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Why didn't you have me watch that? What the fuck?
They ride they're really small and they ride the bullets, and some of them are voiced in the English dub like cowboys, and they say yeehaw while they ride the bullets.
Is it a kind of thing where the bullet gets to you and then they punch you a lot before the bullet goes in you, so it's like an extra oomph?
Kinda. They can kick the bullets to change their direction, like mid-shot.
Cool. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that in this season too. A lot of bullets changing direction, which is cool. Like I can't complain about that. Well, so here's the thing: who is JoJo Star? Is that anyone? Did I make that up?
Oh, Joestar.
There's a Joseph Joestar. I don't think he ever goes by just Joe.
Okay.
That is Jolene's great-grandfather.
Because there's I've learned here about the Joestar lineage, and I don't know why I believe this. I thought JoJo's was about a guy named Joe Joestar. And I've thought that for years.
Close enough.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah, the bloodline that all further protagonists come from is the Joestar family, yeah.
And is that bloodline does that like allow them to use stands, or is there some other unrelated thing involved?
There's a lot of things that have happened to explain stands. It might be aliens. It might be your inner strength. There might be fated bloodlines. You might have an alien thing touch you, which then awakens a stand across your bloodline, and it might kill your mom.
Cool. Sweet. I have another stand-related question really quick.
Sure.
You can be a person in the world, just bebopping all around, as one does in a fantasy world.
Yeah.
And then you get your finger poked, and it awakens your stand. At least that's what happens here. Something happens to awaken your stand, or give you one. Does it give you one, or does it awaken the one you have? This is important too, I guess.
I don't know. What do you think?
All right, this is made up. Okay, all right. Well, then it doesn't matter. Something. Okay. But then there are people who are born stand users.
Yes.
And then it creates the amazing thing where it's like, what's the guy's name? Weather Report? What's his name? His name is Weather Report. Okay, great.
Which is a jazz band, probably the least popular of the music references so far.
I will be honest, I only know Jolene as a music reference in this whole season, so I'm eager to hear you explain these to me.
Sure. Stone Free is a Hendrix song. There you go.
Oh, great, there we go. But so anyway, so the intro of Weather Report is like, his name is Weather Report. His stand is called Weather Report. And so I really didn't know, and I laughed because it is funny. But I didn't know, is that just funny? Or if you're a born stand user, does that mean that your name is just your stand's name?
I mean, the way we talked about it last week when we talked about those episodes is that because Weather Report is an amnesiac, he does not know his given name, so he has assumed his Stan's name as his name.
Yep.
Wow.
But this really goes to one of the strongest things that I think is new about Part 6, which is the conflation of the person and the stand. Like,
Yeah, there's that idealism, that philosophical idealism alien that shows up.
Yeah. Or even earlier in that fight, when Jolene demonstrates that she can send out so much string, she does not have guts. Her stand and her body are one and the same.
Yeah, it's cool.
Which is, just to inform you, Cameron, totally different from how stands have been previously.
Yeah, because they're like a little ghost that lives outside. They're like the Elden Ring guy, that lion.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, that's a common meme. Oh, by the way, I've seen Ghost in the Shell as well.
Nice.
Oh,
all right.
Yeah.
I just want to got to get that in. In case people think I'm a complete fool. I mean, I can't, I need to make sure people know. Okay, well, that does clarify. Clarify is a charitable word. That tells me more information than I had before about this.
But yeah, stands are bodies now in a way that, like, I'm always reminded of a point I made way back in Part 3, that stands are so divorced and unphysical and unbody-like that I always point to that as the reason in Part 3 everyone was really, like, puking and shitting and eating all of the time. There's a lot of poop jokes in Part 3. There's a dog that farts a lot. Don't worry about it. And
well, I guess that's the thing to ask you too. Is like, is the level of like, I don't know, like body genres goofery as high in the rest of them? So like when she's made to strip search and she's like, "Oh, do you want me on all fours?" and she does like all these like kind of porny position things, and that like that's the joke, is that she's like throwing it in their face. Is that normal for JoJo's? Is that like new for this kind of thing? And like it opens with the masturbation joke.
I don't think it's new, but the specifics are new. Like, I think Jolene is the first JoJo we are invited to ogle at all. Like, she talks about jerking it, and then is nude, and then is the first JoJo we see in their underwear, in that order. And none of the previous 5 have done any of those 3 things.
We haven't seen Jotaro in his underwear at all?
No.
The closest you get is literally just shirtless. He gets shirtless once, right?
Does he?
I think.
Like,
I thought this anime was popular. What are you telling me?
No, he doesn't get shirtless. He just gets jacketless. I was thinking of that bit where he digs the hole because there's an evil killer car that wants to run him over and light him on fire.
Cool. I do like that you, in your mind, there was this like train of things. Well, if his jacket's not on, he's got to be shirtless. Like, what would be under there?
No.
It's often poop jokes. It's often there's a lot of toilet business, but yeah, the exact expression of that stuff, I think, is new to Part 6, and also it dries up. Like Jolene's, I do believe, starts very sexualized, but then isn't. It just stops. Like we made that point, and then we're done.
Did you slam a door after that?
No, I got very clumsy with a water bottle.
And that's that. Goodbye. Bam!
I said good day. Yeah, I think that's right. But also, like, it's almost all jokes, right? Like, and it's because the whole thing's playing with, like, the women in prison exploitation genre, right? Like, my wife laughed very hard when it was revealed that the whole thing takes place in Florida. She really thought that was funny.
That's just what Florida people look like.
Yeah, it's just like that. It's just how it is down here. And
just as a funny comparison, the fucked up skull shapes that like almost every single major prison guard has in Florida in this part of JoJo, compare that to the prison guards you see in several episodes of Part 5 in Italy, where they're all incredibly gorgeous looking. There's something being said there.
That's the difference between Italy and Florida. It's phrenology.
Phrenology cannot explain what is happening to Loco Rococo. I'm sorry.
That man, like...
Neither science nor pseudoscience can tell you what is happening with that man.
There's like a toxic waste dump right outside the prison or something, right? He's like dunking his head in there, getting exposed to something real bad.
Who is Loco Rococo?
The tiny guard with the puppet.
Oh, Charlotte the puppet?
Yes.
You should have mentioned Charlotte.
Okay.
I mean, come on. Gee, how am I supposed to keep track of everybody? That little puppet's great. That's some good stuff. Also, but continue what I was saying before I start screaming about some other thing. It's all like women in prison stuff, right? Which is a very well-worn 1970s exploitation film genre, and they like go through all those things, right? So like the female prison guard harassing the kind of like sexy inmate on her way in. That's part of that genre. You know, that's like part of this whole history of American cinema. And so I think that's part of like the sexualization stuff, is part of that is like it's playing on those things. But then by the time that like the plot gets going with stands and everything like that, we're like, we're having the kind of Monster of the Week episode kind of format with the bigger thing stretched over the top of it. It's not that genre anymore. It's like into presumably whatever JoJo's is about more broadly.
Yeah. And that is repeated across all of the parts. Like part 5 is never more of a mafia story than it is before the gang gets together and starts like Trish shows up, I guess.
Yeah.
Part 1 again, it stops being about daddy's unloved son and the wastrel that tries to steal the family fortune. Well, now it's vampires. Never mind. we switched to anime fights with colored magic punches.
Jack, I have to tell this to anyone who has seen a little bit of JoJo's new to it. Something that happens literally like episode 4 of the very, very first part of JoJo is Jack the Ripper, like the Jack the Ripper, who is now a zombie vampire servant, buries dozens of knives within his body, and then, as a surprise attack, chops off the head of a horse, crawls into its neck, and hides it inside its body so he can jump out in an opportune time to then flex really hard to make the knives shoot out of his body.
Does that take a full 40 minutes to set up?
It's about 2 minutes or 3 minutes.
Well, that's the only two things. That is something I've noticed. For that kind of thing in the show, it's either set up in 30 seconds or a full 20-minute episode.
Yeah.
There's no in the middle.
Yeah.
I mean, that's cool.
The horse remains standing through the entire process. I do not understand that part
Rigor
to
mortis
this day.
hit instantly.
Cool.
It's different when you get killed by a zombie serial killer, I think.
I guess.
The technique.
I guess.
Not a lot of historical figures in this season that you made me watch.
Well, I mean, it's set in 2010, and the manga was originally written in the year 2000.
So Britney Spears could have been in it. All of NSYNC.
Serving time in Florida,
God.
yes.
I'm looking at some character names here, and I'm really figured like I didn't put in together that there's a Costello in here.
Oh yeah,
I didn't realize that FF was named Foo Fighters. I must have missed that.
That is something you miss only getting the English vocal track, because they are localized for like copyright purposes, but not in the Japanese voice track.
yeah.
Oh my God.
So
you would be hearing these Japanese voice actors just shouting Foo Fighters constantly.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah. So and a lot of the time, the new names just are kind of whatever. Every once in a while, you get something very inspired. For instance, in Part 5, there is a stand named Kraftwerk, after the band Kraftwerk, that got turned, localized into English as Arts and Crafts.
That's beautiful. Are there a bunch of little cursed children running around in the rest of these?
We haven't had a kid character in a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
There's the little money boy in Part 4 is probably our last child.
I'm sorry, a little money boy?
There's a little money boy.
He's a special little guy.
Well, so's this kid. He's a little baseball boy. Who has fake stuff, or whatever he has.
Ghost stuff.
Ghost stuff. What a bunch of horse shit.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so why did I only watch the first 12 episodes? I mean, thank you, but also why did I end at episode 12?
There are, I guess, two reasons. For one, we like to have our guest episodes at regular intervals. This started as a thing we did at the end of parts, but the first part is 9 episodes long. The second part is like 13 or 14 episodes long, and we liked that rhythm, even though since then it's meant cutting parts into chunks. The second reason is, who else likes to break things into big batch chunks? Netflix, who is the international distributor of Part 6 Stone Ocean. These first 12 episodes went live on December 1st, 2021.
Weird.
So if you were an original viewer, you stopped right here, and you stopped for what turned out to be 9 months.
What a bummer.
It sucked.
It's not even a cliffhanger.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you know who everybody is, and you like people got to fight more.
They had to throw in to give it the barest minimum of a cliffhanger was just like, hey, guy who is for some reason named Sports Maximum, look at this bone. Huh? Look at this bone. Okay, bye. Yeah, it really sucked. And now...
And that's a post-credits thing. You can miss that.
Yeah. And like...
I'm pulling at my collar.
One could, theoretically.
Yeah, I mean, if you weren't paying attention, you could not see that. But if you perhaps waited for that little tune to turn on so that you could turn it off and immediately run and record the episode, I mean, yeah, you might miss that. But I would know
it's
about
like
that.
20 seconds. But then the second chunk of episodes didn't come out until like August or September this year?
September 1st.
September. And then the third and final chunk is coming out December 1st. So like a way smaller gap between the second and third chunks. Netflix is very bad at anime releases.
I think you could have stopped it. Netflix is very bad.
Yeah, that's true.
I think they're buffoons over there. I'm giving them what for here on the Dogs Must Die podcast on the Chip and Ironicus network.
Well, if we're talking about Emporia, let's just go through our characters, and I guess we should start with Jolene. Comparing her to past JoJos, I think she's just the most defiant in general, and particularly while rejecting the family legacy. But at the same time, the story is the most concerned with past parts in quite a while. Like, not since her dad was running around Egypt did we care that much about the parts that came before.
Jolene for me is probably one of my favorite JoJos because she's probably like out of all the JoJos, she's the one most solidly defined from the like episode 1. And is also probably the most consistent because like all the JoJos kind of change a little bit over time and what they are, how their powers work or whatever, just because Araki himself was like, I think this would be better. And Jolene, for the most part, is much more consistent, which, I don't know. She starts off strong, and she doesn't really get weaker over time or anything, character-wise, for me.
Well, because she's weak before the thing starts. They kind of get to play it both ways, right? Like, the flashback of her in the car with her rich boyfriend.
Yes. Oh, that cad.
Zell, whatever his name is. From Final Fantasy VIII.
Yes.
Romeo. That's right. It's Romeo, and he drives an Alfa Romeo. That's right. Yes.
That's right. Perfect. But she's like a stereotypical teenage girl. Whatever. It's a broad type. That's going on there, right? So we do get these flashes of her being like this kind of innocent, whatever. But she's like post that the whole thing, and again, that's very much women in prison or like crime films.
She's like instantly hardened as soon as her sentence gets passed down.
Yeah, and it's missing the thing of those films, which is like in those films, in the exploitation films that are kind of in this cluster, something horrifying would have happened to her, right? She would have been beaten, or she would have been assaulted, or something like that, right? And that would be the turning point, and that's the kind of exploitation-y part of the thing. And so it's really interesting that it follows the kind of genre constraint of the women in prison film or the revenge film. This is kind of in the middle of both of those. Women in prison films are often revenge films. And but it like skips that part, right? Like the bad thing that happens to her is that her dad sucks, and which is fine, like that, and that's it's a really, I think, smart way and capable way of taking the parts that are fun or like interesting about the women in prison film and like kind of turning them and warping them into the anime form that you need it to be, because she's got to have some sort of relationship with her dad because he's like the fan favorite. So we got to find a way to bring him in. And he's what a delightfly shitty dad. You've got to come home. You're going to Tokyo? You can't go to Tokyo right now. Right, we get to hear that phone call at least 3 times.
Yeah.
Why was he going to Tokyo? Is that a reference?
It is not.
What?
As far as we know, there is not some sort of monster that needs to be punched into the stratosphere in Tokyo when Jolene is that age.
He does go to Japan, but not Tokyo.
Oh, okay.
And also when Jolene is like 4, like is when
when
that
she's younger.
The thing you're talking about is
Yeah.
She's wearing a powerful outfit in that flashback.
Yes.
It's like high fashion, like the biggest sweatpants ever made in like a leotard that go into them. It's pretty sweet, very high fashion.
I'm really into the big star she has over one eye. That's great.
She's got on her shoulder too, right?
Yeah, that is a birthmark actually. That's every Joe star has one of those.
Much like in Assassin's Creed, they pass down things. There's genetic memory.
Yep.
And it's the star. But yeah, I think she's great. I think she's cool. I like that she learns stuff. She learns skills and abilities. I like in maybe the second episode or the third episode where she is climbing on the wall as she's getting bigger and gets her head stuck in a support beam. It's so strangely specific of a thing that could happen to one person.
I wish, for Jolene's sake, I wish she had a villain who was a villain in their own right and not Dio's little buddy.
Yeah.
Because, if Poochie is Dio's little buddy, then that just makes her dad's sidekick. And I don't want her diminished in that way, because no one else has been diminished in that way.
Yeah, that's true. Well, also just one other thing with Jolene that I brought this up before in previous episodes that I like is that compared to a lot of the other JoJos, she is probably the most proactive one because even when JoJos are the protagonists, they're not always like the leader of the group or anything. They're probably just the best at punching or something like that. And usually end up defeating the guy in the end when everyone else gets their shit kicked in. But Jolene is like...
Case in point, you want to talk about high fashion. We got
Oh, yeah. Just look in the chat. Look at that dude. Fucking Bruno Bucciarati.
I'm looking. What? There's a lot of chest cutouts in this program broadly.
Yeah.
See, I guess what I'm hearing is that if you were to continue watching this, it wouldn't be continuing from here or going to part 1 or part 3. Just go to part 5. You seem to really be into what you're hearing about Vento Aria, Golden Wind.
No, I think I would finish this, and I think I would finish this part or this season or series, whatever the term is, the term of art. If only because I think by the end my wife was kind of into it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
We were joking about a weather report, whatever his name is. Having a good time talking about him because it's fun.
The biggest space nerd in all of Florida. Yeah.
There's something really special about the writing of the program, and I don't know if this is a dub kind of thing or if it's some other. I don't know where it originates. I guess maybe it's in the manga. But the hyper specificity of some of these characters. So like when they're introducing Weather Report and they're like, he also barely speaks, or he speaks really low. So he has to get really close to you. And then that's true. Like anytime he is talking to someone, he is overlapping their face on the 2D plane.
And also Emporio knows that his breath coming out of his nose is warm, nice and warm.
Right. It's like unnaturally warm or something, he says. Or maybe pleasantly warm, yeah. But I don't know, there's something really interesting to me about this like hyper specific.
That is an Araki hallmark. I mean, going back to Manga in Theory and Practice, the craft of creating manga. When he creates a character, he has like a questionnaire he's made himself to fill out with, 60 facts, 80 facts?
Yeah, something like that.
So if it ever feels like when you're introduced to a character that either the character introducing them or the narrator is just reading a Wikipedia page, that's because one exists, and Araki wrote it for himself.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. What a interesting man.
Yeah.
And is this a Shonen Jump?
Yes.
Thing?
At
Okay.
this point,
So
the original is still being published in Weekly Shonen Jump.
Cool. Is there an end date or like a arc end?
The most recent part that ran for many years was part 8. And that ended...
But that had moved to a monthly magazine, not Shonen Jump itself.
Okay.
Yeah. And he has announced there will be a part 9, but I don't believe there is any like date for when that starts yet.
If you're asking specifically about Stone Ocean, the story of Jolene, that concluded publication in 2003.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about
okay.
The whole deal.
Currently on hiatus, promised to return with a brand new 9th part. Yes.
Got it. So, because sometimes it seems like the mangaka or whatever, they're like, I'm doing X amount and then I'm done. And that X amount might take eternity to do, but they eventually stop. I've heard this pirate program has been going on for 40 years or whatever.
But yeah, it's been going for a while, and it continues. It feels like, honestly, it'll continue to go until Araki is dead.
Interesting. So really, you're going to be reading JoJo's the rest of your life. Have you thought about that?
Yeah.
I mean, the rest is somebody's life, maybe not mine.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, if you're a fan of it, I think about this a lot. Thankfully, with none of the projects that we do, I think about it a lot with actors. Like all of the projects that we have theoretically will end at some point, right? All the podcasts we do at Range Touch, because they're finite, right? But I think about all the time about like actors. I think about Millie Bobby Brown, and that I will be seeing Millie Bobby Brown on television and in films until I die. Does that not hit you every now and again? You're like, oh, I will be experiencing some part of this like undead media project, these JoJos, until I am dead.
I've had those thoughts before. JoJo is probably a thing that there will at least be some hardcovers of JoJo on my shelf, probably for the rest of my life. Yeah.
Right. It's wild.
Yeah.
I don't care for it. I'm going to live forever.
Yeah. Well, you should become a vampire then. That's how you do it.
Yeah. So vampirism exists.
Yeah.
But not everyone's a vampire for some reason.
Vampirism went out of style. I think Dio, the big platform shoe man of several flashbacks, is the last, like chronologically last vampire we know about. Let's say that.
Yeah, there were some leftover people in later parts who were not vampires per se, but like mutated into strange creatures caused by his vampiric powers, but they were not vampires themselves. Yeah, the last vampire died in the 80s.
The last I'm trying. This is like a curse. Is like a basilisk in my head. Are you? The last vampire died in the 80s.
He tortured a U.S. senator to become his willing puppet, but that only lasted for like an episode. It's fine.
Yeah,
he just used him as a chauffeur for a while.
You ever read the short story Blit? So it's a science fiction story, and it's about these. I'll just read the summary, the Wikipedia summary for you. Okay. BLIT, acronym of Berryman Logical Image Technique, is a 1988 science fiction short story by the British writer David Langford. It has a setting where highly dangerous types of images called basilisks have been discovered. These images contain patterns within them that exploit flaws in the structure of the human mind to produce a lethal reaction, effectively crashing the mind in the way a computer program crashes when given data that it fails to process. That's how I feel when you told me the last vampire died in the 80s.
The last vampire died just prior to the publication of Blit, actually.
Oh, man.
He knew. It's about a hacker who's sending them to people. He's sending them basilisks, and he gets caught doing it. And maybe he gets a little bit of a look at one. You know? It was bad for him.
Well, what were we talking about? We were talking about Jolene. We were talking about characters. Do we have any Irmis thoughts? Any Foo Fighters thoughts? Well, while we're talking about our heroic trio.
I love both of them.
Yep.
Foo Fighters we haven't gotten a ton of, but she makes an impression very quickly because she's a weird goblin character made out of plankton and not a person, which is very fun.
The absolute revelation of the technology of cups and other drinking vessels.
Yeah.
Well, of course I can use a cup. Cups are easy. I can drink out of a cup all day long. That's good. The double whammy of FF both being made out of like a billion little plankton goblins that are very fun looking, and then also telling us about like intelligence as a concept beyond, or like spirit or whatever. What does she say? Do you remember the quotation here?
Oh no, I know what you're talking about. I don't remember it off the top of my head.
She's basically like intellect exists before matter,
and tying it to panspermia just to like prop it up on a actual like possibly provable scientific idea.
Yeah, it's wild. And then she's like, and so therefore, I'm going to have, like an upside down cracked egg head hair.
I'm
like
going to
empty
skin
watermelon
suit
hair.
this gleeful kidnapper. I kind of wish, like with the description of Atro's crime, I wish we got to know Atro before she became the Foo Fighters outfit.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, when I was a child, I wanted to be kidnapped, and I was never kidnapped. And so when I was an adult, I did what children always wanted, to be kidnapped. Yes, I laughed very hard at that entire thing. Is she dead?
She dead. Oh, yeah. She dead.
Because her arm blew up. Mm-hmm. Okay.
She's dead like Men in Black Edgar.
Well, there's also another dead guy in this character, or in this thing, whose just brain is turned off. And he was underwater for a solid 4 minutes. And apparently his body is just, quote unquote, in stasis. So I don't know what kills a person in this world. So,
He's a very hardy man.
Beheading takes longer to kill characters than you would expect, and that goes back to part 1.
Yeah. Oh, just to let you know, JoJo's art style has also changed a lot over the parts. So if you go back to part 1, you will be shocked to learn that every man is a massive 7-foot-tall beefcake that weighs 650 pounds, and it's pure muscle. So Jotaro was that at the age of 16, 17? And he's lost muscle mass, but he's still just as hard as he was back then. So yes, despite being brain dead, he's fine.
They're huge. They're kind of more erotic, I would say. Mm-hmm. Like these part 1 characters. They're. I mean, they are big muscle men, but they're a little Tom of Finland.
Yes, yes, very much so.
There is a scene in part 1 where a man gets his special vampire fighting sun arms flash frozen, so he can no longer fight vampires, and a man thaws that other guy's frozen arms rapidly by placing them up against his bare, sizzling abs.
Cool.
That man has been name-checked in part 6.
Yes, the Speedwagon Foundation.
Because he is the Robert E.O. Speedwagon, founder of the Speedwagon Foundation.
Jesus Christ.
Yep. The character with the longest legacy in JoJo's is a man who never fights. He is on the sidelines the entire time. There's a lot. There's a lot to JoJo.
Is the reference, or is the name of that pigeon, is that a reference or a throwback that's like fun?
Oh, the name of the pigeon?
Yeah, the pigeon gets its own name.
Savage Garden, right?
Right. It's Savage Guardian is meant to be Savage Garden,
yes. Yeah, Savage Guardian. So no, that's just like some guy? That's just some pigeon?
That's just a pigeon. I mean,
it's just a pigeon.
What the fuck?
It's named after an Australian band who did a lot of power ballads around the time this was published.
So does the pigeon get a Wikipedia page? Like, does he have 80 facts about him or her?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, how do you find all this out? Like, is this publicly accessible somewhere? Can you buy a special book in Japanese and it tells you all the info?
There have been several art books that have more of that information in it. Mm-hmm. I mean, some of it is just things that come up in conversation, often rather bluntly, that get added to, fan wikis or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I think some chapter bumpers even have breakdowns of the mid-episode break, the little eye catch, right? You see a little radial JRPG style dial with stands, like stat layouts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Those are in chapter bumpers and things in the manga as well. So that's why we know some characters like favorite food. I think there's one or two who really love jelly beans or something. I forget, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, golly.
One thing.
Sorry, go ahead. Asked about the other one. Oh no, it's okay. You asked about what, Hermes? Did you ask about
Hermes Costello?
Hard pass.
Oh,
she's not very interesting. I don't think she's got a great. I like her power.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The sticker, that's cool. But her as a character, kind of not. Her storage boob is cool. That's a cool, badass thing to do.
Yeah, to tear open your own stitches. For $50.
Yeah, to store stuff inside of your flesh. That's rad. I forgot what is the film where someone stores a razor blade underneath their skin? Oh no, you know what? It's not a movie. It's a issue of The Punisher. Here's a comic book. There we go. Yeah, he like does that. He gets kidnapped and he has a razor blade like in a wound. And he like fishes it out and then attacks.
That's
people with it.
gross.
It is gross.
But one thing thinking about Irmis reminded me of is I appreciate that in this heroic adventure story set in a prison, everyone is a criminal. Like no one but Jolene is falsely accused. They all, like by letter of the law at least, ought to be there.
And yeah, it's like Irmis hasn't done anything big, but yeah, she has stolen multiple times.
Yeah, I guess if there's a moral divide by crime that also divides our heroes and villains, it's like property crime versus murders. Yeah, okay.
I mean, who can judge?
Maybe Lang Wrangler's chemistry professor deserved to be stabbed 69 times.
Oh, fuck, I forgot about that. And he like knows chemistry really well.
Oh yeah.
So I guess he didn't really need the professor. He's an independent study. He's got it on lockdown.
He's a like legitimately terrifying character. To be a character that is so goddamn silly, he is actually very scary. There's something scary about those like shoes that are tied to him. Like that's frightening. He like scrabbles around on all fours. None of that's good.
Nothing about Lang Wrangler is good. Yeah.
There's a guy you're gonna love in part 5.
Oh, dude.
Who is that? Tell me about it.
Oh, God. His name is Secco. It's short for Prosecco because part 5 has a lot of food names, where part 6 has a lot of fashion designer names.
Okay.
He also has incredible spitting powers, and he is in a puppy play relationship with his partner in assassinry.
Keep talking. And he's like the guy I talked about. How?
He scrabbles along. His stand power is facilitated by his incredible ability to spit at people, and he has a very similar design. He's got an all brown bodysuit.
He's more feral than Lang Wrangler.
Yes, far more.
Yeah, like if Lang Wrangler had rabies or something, that would be this guy. Yeah. With the added thing of, like the puppy play relationship with a guy who is like an evil serial killer, former surgeon who looks like a clown.
His stand is named Green Day.
I've got my face in my hands here. I don't... What does that say? What does it do?
Oh, Green Day covers everyone in deadly mold that just rots them away.
Of course.
With the exception of you have to be traveling downwards for the mold to grow on you. If you keep going higher in elevation, it can't get you.
All right, cool,
it's
I guess.
It's real bad, though. It kills like thousands of people in Rome.
It kills thousands of people?
At least dozens.
Why is no one doing anything about these stands? Is there not a government agency or some sort of Overwatch team for killing them?
Well, there is an unarmed chemotherapy research organization.
The Speedwagon Foundation, exactly.
But what do they do?
A lot of things.
The Speedwagon Foundation seems to mostly be logistical, legal, and medical support for all of the various Joe stars and their friends.
Yep. Like, if the world were just, if the world of JoJo's were just, and we know it isn't because the prison is explicitly modeled on America, so it's impossible for justice to exist. But if the world were just, that creepy purple guy would be slapping everybody in the face all the time and knocking their stands out and then storing them in a some sort of spindle from 1997. And none of these problems would exist. No one should be able to shrink people and make them big.
I agree.
No one inmate should have all that power.
No.
I just thought the stand discs in part 6, if you put those in a CD player and you hit play, it should play a song from the band they're named after.
Yes.
Of course. And the fact that doesn't happen it's cowardice across the board.
Please never let White Snake get to Kiss. I don't just let Irmis keep Kiss. I don't want.
Yeah, we don't need any of that shit. Thank you. Also, just another fun thing just to throw at you as someone who doesn't know about the other parts of
Okay,
JoJo.
hold on. I gotta steel myself. I'm gripping. If you could see me, you'd see me gripping both of my things on my chair.
Sure.
You know, I've got them. Neck veins standing out, going all red like that meme. Okay, go ahead.
Another thing, because you were asking what the Speedwagon Foundation does. Another thing they do, which is really just kind of a duty left over from the 1920s, is they still have in a glass container under UV rays, so it doesn't come back to life and cause problems, is the husk of the last of a race of beings, pre-humans, which were kind of vampires. And this one is named Santana. They just got him under lock and key.
Why wouldn't they kill him?
You know, I don't know.
Yeah, they killed his friends, Cars, Wham, and AC/DC.
Yeah.
Oh,
Would you like to know where they kept these remains under lock and key?
probably on an airship or some shit.
I don't know. In an underground lab in Washington, D.C., and just judging by the like arrangement of obviously very recognizable buildings in the establishing shot, this seems to be built underneath the plot of land that is now the main Senate office building. So if your senator gets on the wrong elevator...
I mean, you got to be wary of things that are too smooth. Right? Get it? Get it? There really aren't that many music puns in the program.
No.
Just names.
Yeah.
But speaking of the impossibility of justice, I do think it is interesting that Jolene's biggest obstacle is not the various assassins sent to murder her. It is Green Dolphin and its systems. Like, when they get one over on her, it is by leveraging the prison against her and not her abilities, right?
Yeah, because she would summon up a guy, a blue lady in sunglasses who whips ass and would beat them apart. So, like, you have to create this contrivance to do that. So yeah, I mean, absolutely. But the prison part's just as fantastical to me as anything else is. Although there's something so good that so much of the plot bounces off the fact that, like, opening a door is hard in a prison.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
All of episode 12 is just, please, guard, please, open the door. Please, guard, help me. Help open the door. I dropped my key card.
And her biggest wins gain her power over those systems. Like, yeah, Jolene had a key card right there because she kicked a dude's ass. And she got to kick that dude's ass because she beat up somebody else to get a bunch of bribe money that she never has to worry about bribe money again. Is Stone Ocean a Metroidvania?
Oh, shit. Yes.
Oh, I hate that.
I'm imagining a game in that structure.
Is there a JoJo's game? You mentioned this earlier.
There are several. Basically all some form of fighting game or kind of like arcade-style brawler. There's an arcade JoJo Battle Royale game in Japan. We are running around the town from part 4 and just fighting 99 other JoJos. And there's like one RPG from like the Super Nintendo. But yeah,
from 1993. Wow.
Yeah, but it's basically almost entirely fighting games. Yeah, with one very well-known classic one made by Capcom for arcades that occasionally gets a new port.
But no Metroidvania. No big thing. Wow.
There's a handful of like JoJo stands that would work very well for video games, though. Mainly like traversal powers, like with Jolene's string or other things like that. Yeah.
Or her dad's just be the best at punching forever.
Yeah. A Star Platinum game would just be a reskin of God Hand.
Yeah,
basically.
yes, for sure.
Time stop.
He can do that.
Yeah.
He's got 2 powers. It's pretty good. Punching and stopping time. Although it does seem like everyone can punch.
Yeah, just varying degrees of how hard you can punch. But yeah, if you got a humanoid-shaped stand, you're definitely going to be able to punch at 3,000 miles an hour. It's just...
Are there non-humanoid shaped stands?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's Manhattan Transfer. Or what was he? Downtown Transfer in the dub.
Downtown Transfer, yeah.
What does he look like?
He was the ceiling fan with car keys dangling from the bottom.
You know, that's a funny thing, because I thought surely there's a humanoid somewhere around here. And I guess in my head, I was just like, that can't be the whole thing. It can't just be a little car keys with, like a hovercraft with earrings hanging off of it. That can't be the whole thing. But yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially in earlier parts, there are plenty of
We've had little bugs.
stands.
We had just a car. We had just a boat.
I was literally about to ask, is there one that's just a car? That seems so easy. Okay. Good. Thank God.
There's an episode in part 4 where a normal ass rat gets a stand power, which is a tiny little
It's an artillery piece that is rat-sized for him to climb inside and fire.
And he shoots little bullets that makes things melt into jelly. He melts 2 old farmers and stuffs them into a fridge, and they kind of melt into a human flesh cube that's still alive. That's something.
God.
That one's a nightmare.
Jeez. I thought it was pretty messed up when those people parts fell out of that
The
little
bird?
rat.
bird
The bird,
suit.
yeah.
Yeah,
the bird
that's pretty
suit.
messed up.
That was, when the head popped off and the little arm came out and ate that food, I was like, oh my gosh. What am I watching here?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to. I had an anecdote prepared for the beginning. And I forgot to do
yeah.
it.
Oh yeah.
I saw a student of mine the other day, like a month ago, maybe after you'd asked me to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I was just talking to him or whatever, and I was like, "Oh, he was wearing a JoJo shirt with the dad, Jotaro, on the thing." And I recognized that guy. He's like the one guy I know.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, do you watch JoJo's?" And he said to me, "Oh yeah, I do. Do you watch JoJo's?" And I like my fight or flight instinct kicked in, and I said, "Oh no, I just know about it. I just know what it is." Because I immediately was like, "Oh my god, am I going to be responsible for talking about JoJo's with this kid? I can't do that."
Well, just send him this. It comes out January 2nd, 2023.
Wow. So people are going to be still hungover.
Yeah.
And they're going to be tuning into the JoJo's to talk about the thing. So what do you do when there's no program on? Does the show just go on hiatus? I listened to some early episodes.
Oh, okay.
Of JoJo's. I mean, I've listened to this show before.
Oh, fantastic.
Back when you started it, and I was like, I have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. And so I stopped listening to it. Because it was very clear. It was like, I need to either learn about this or don't do that.
Right.
And so I didn't learn about that.
We didn't run out of show to talk about until a couple months ago. So we are, over the last month or so, back from our first real hiatus.
Oh, I see.
we still there's a lot of side things we can talk about eventually, just whenever we feel like it, when we run out of show.
If you would like a JoJo's version of the X-Files or a horror anthology or Twilight Zone, perhaps, there are 4 episodes of a thing called The Spoke Rohan Kashibe that might be up your alley.
Interesting.
Yep.
So it's just people doing those types of shows, but they also have stands?
A character who's introduced in part 4 who has a stand, who is called at least once by the author, an author insert, being in like horror Twilight Zone style stories.
Yeah. The character himself is like the world's ultimate mangaka, and he's all about experiencing anything and everything in life to give him inspiration for more stories.
Which turns out to include a lot of ghosts.
Yeah, and so these side stories are basically all the X-Files or Twilight Zone style things. Yeah, him just going places, getting caught up in spooky hijinks when he's just trying to find new stories or inspiration to write about. It's divorced enough from JoJo that while he still uses his own stand power, there are no other stands involved. It's just like literal ghosts every time, or other paranormal things. And so like in some adaptations of it, including the live action TV show, they don't even explain what stands are. They just say, this guy has a power, and that's it.
Don't worry about it. Just trust me.
By the way, his power is to open up people's faces like they are literal books, and he can read the pages of their face to learn everything and anything about them. And if he writes anything into their pages, they do or know or believe or don't do whatever he wrote. It is the most overpowered stand in all of JoJo, but he just uses it to make manga really good.
Yeah, that seems pretty big. Oh, so here's a question for you that I will probably never learn the answer to.
Sure.
What is actually White Snake? What's his name? Is
White
he actually
Snake.
called White Snake
Yes,
in the original?
he is.
Okay, yeah, Pale Snake, and I was like, that's got to be White Snake.
Yep.
What is actually his deal? Like, he can clock you in the face and knock your memories out of your brain. Okay, that makes sense. But he's like eating them in that room.
Oh, the goo room.
Yeah, the guru.
Yes.
The like separate other power is to put people into a dreamlike state that slowly dissolves them, basically.
Oh, okay, and those are just kind of unrelated to one.
In addition to treating both your memories and your stand like ejectable memory, sure.
Right.
And swappable because he's just, I don't know, stolen a lot of stands and then gives them to other people and points them at Jolene over and over again.
Yeah, that unfortunately named Mary Lynn Manson.
Yes.
It's like, well, that's a bummer. That stand is terrifying. And it's going to knock your organs out of your body.
Really underselling the value of a liver, I have to say. Like, I checked market rates.
You know what? Literally, my wife said that very thing. She was like, $560? What?
The liver market in 2010 really crashed. It was a bad year.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Like, the housing market goes first and the organ market goes after. We know that. That's like part of economics. Clearly, you've never taken macro.
Onion futures are really the bellwether you got to watch out for. So while we're talking about villains, I got a question. Do we think, like, if you're to go back after the episode 12 flashback and look at all of Poochie's like monologues about the power of God and seeing heaven, is Dio the god that Poochie serves, or indirectly like his image of who God is?
I believe so. Like the way
his
Poochie
name is
speaks.
Dio, after all. Like,
Yeah. The way Poochie speaks of Dio certainly makes him sound godlike to me.
like at the very least, he is Poochie's path to heaven. He is the source of salvation. I don't think Poochie is a Christian anymore. He's a Dioist.
Did Poochie ever realize Dio is a fucking vampire?
Just look at him.
I mean, yeah.
Is that book that tells you how to get to heaven, is that a plot point of another season?
That's new.
Or is that
That's
just
brand new.
Oh, that's brand new. Just
That's
no one's
new.
talked about that before.
That whole thing about Jotaro finding the book
Right.
that has the methodology of reaching heaven or whatever, that is basically a retcon or like insert like almost immediately after the end of part 3 where Jotaro is the protagonist. Yeah.
From the way that part 3 is done, it looks like there's about 2 hours in which that whole thing could have occurred.
Yeah.
Well, I can't answer the question about whether or not he worships Dio. I don't have enough context or information, but given what I do know of the show so far, which is about 6 hours or so, if in the next episode it was revealed that God is like a pebble and, it like lives in his pocket and talks to him, I'd be like, yeah, of course. Like, yeah. So, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like the structure of the thing is such that I don't have to think too hard about this.
Sure, yeah.
I feel like that's the thing I feel confident about JoJo's. If it's going to matter, this is much like Homestuck. If it's going to matter, they'll tell me.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
I shouldn't speculate too much because they'll let me know if the thing matters.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, this show is literally the Garth Marenghi subtext is for cowards like thing in every scene.
Yeah.
Are there more scenes like when they were racing to see whose blood would boil first? Is that a big like part? Because that's 2 episodes essentially of one scene, of one action sequence of people like bouncing back and forth on making other people die quicker.
Oh yeah. That
Is that like a common like kind of big fight structure?
I mean, Man in the Mirror comes to mind immediately.
Oh yeah. That one for sure.
Yeah.
The fights in each part all follow like the same format, but the way they're accomplished is a little different in execution. If you went all the way back to like say part 3 and saw the stand fights there, they're a lot more punch based.
Yeah.
At least until you get closer to the end, and then from part 4 onwards, it's a lot more galaxy brained, trying to outwit your opponent so you can land a single punch style thing rather than just trading blows the whole time.
And like the big move that we both just like pop for every time it happens is when someone misses intentionally because their attack that looked like it was useless was actually disguising what their real attack was all along. It happens a lot, and I love it every single time.
We have dubbed it JoJo's trick.
It is JoJo's trick.
And it's not just JoJo that does it. Everyone can do
Everyone.
it. Even villains.
Friend and foe alike, yes.
I mean, yeah, of course. Like, that's what's got to happen. Like, that's the way you do it. If people can counter your actual attack, well, your actual attack can't be your attack.
Yeah.
That's basic math.
Kind of along the same lines of trying to just make the other person's blood boil faster before you do the same. There is, in Part 5, a fight where a dude... There's a guy who we showed you in the chat earlier, Bruno, the guy with the big chest window. His stand is called Sticky Fingers.
Oh, okay.
And his whole thing is that he can just conjure zippers on anything and open that zipper to, say, unzip a part of your arm off or unzip a hole in the wall so you can escape where in a place where you otherwise couldn't. Unzip a human being and hide inside of them. Things like that. And
in every fight, he seems to be intentionally trying to die.
Yeah, this is a crazy motherfucker. And there is one extremely good fight where they're on a running train. Everyone is either dying because they're breathing gas that makes you turn into an old person very fast, or trying to not die from the gas while fighting a dude who has a fishing rod that can pass through walls and seeks out human heartbeats. And to avoid this fishing rod that can, seek you out and like pull your heart out of your body, he unzips his own body into very small chunks, and then karate chops his heart in half, so he unzips it into different parts, and this is all just to disguise himself from an evil fishing rod.
And that's after he unzips the side of the train to throw himself on the tracks below.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot you're dumping on me right now.
The big watchword of Part 5 is determinazione, and no one lives up to it better than Bruno.
Yeah.
So are all these like 24 episodes?
They're usually
36. 36 to 39 is
right.
the I don't know, the median, I guess.
Part 3 is longer because it's like the most famous, popular part.
And parts 1 and 2 are much shorter, much shorter.
Yeah, they fit into one season of 26 episodes.
Well, I gotta be honest, I don't know if I'm going back and finishing this. Although, like I said, I didn't hate it. It's pretty cool. It's good stuff.
I mean, I expected the answer to be no. I expected you to watch 0 episodes of Stone Ocean, and you watched 12. So
I did. Yeah, they are interesting. It's an interesting program. I'm actually maybe more interested in reading the manga.
Yeah.
It is ultimately a question of speed for me in some ways, which is like, I like the plotty plot parts of the thing. I actually like, the way the characters interact with one another, but the genre format of the way the anime works, right? Where it's like, here is a scenario that occurs. We are now going to get the introspective parts from both of these characters that are given to us through VO that is put over still screens that we like kind of slowly scroll over. Like that to me, like I think that would actually work for me better on the page than
it is
sitting through it.
Like these adaptations are pretty damn faithful. So yeah, all that style stuff, that is like panel for panel the same. And it certainly does go faster and maybe flow better in manga form. Very easily accessible too. It's on like the Viz app. There's plenty of fan sites that have like the colorized editions for download too, which generally look quite nice.
Just to provide the counterpoint, there are certain stand abilities and action beats that are much clearer to read when animated.
That's true.
Oh, some of these things have got to be deeply confusing.
Yeah.
the main antagonist's power in Part 5 is like a well-known meme or joke in the fan community, because on on top of it just being something that's very hard to portray in still panels, it also had a very bad fan English translation for the longest time, which made it even more confusing. But when you watch the anime, it is extremely easy to understand how it works.
What was it do?
It obliterates time. That is the way they describe it in a nutshell. But basically, very observant people notice that suddenly they have seconds of missing time. And what happens in that time is that the villain man is able to act freely and subvert causes that lead to the effects he sees coming, because he can also see several seconds ahead in order to plan these moves.
Yeah, I can see how this might be difficult to depict.
Difficult to depict in still images on a comics page? Yeah.
Yeah.
Where every panel border is seconds of lost time? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Animated, though, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
When you get that sweet 24 frames a second.
When you can see a guy throw a punch and then the animation skips several frames and the guy is elsewhere. Yeah, a lot easier.
Oh, speaking of all this, so my power went out or blinked a couple times.
Oh dear.
I guess a couple days, not right now, but a couple days ago. Before I started watching this, I hadn't used my TV between then and there, and so it reset my TV to default values, including turning the motion smoothing all the way on. And so JoJo started, and I was like, "What is this?" I was like, "Oh my god. This looks wild as shit." And I made it about 5 minutes in, and I was like, "All right, this is kind of making me motion sick. I think something's wrong." And so I had to go in. So I was getting a solid 60 hertz or something out of the the JoJo's experience, and so I probably would have noticed missing time. But also there's weird stuff like that even in this series of when they're in the dream zone, and the whole episode happens in the fake dream, and then they're like, "But your handcuffs were gone." I was like, "Well, it's just a fantasy cartoon. It's maybe that's just gone." You know what I mean? That didn't bother me at all. And I was like, "Oh, this is the plot. I see." In a program in which moment to moment, the wildest things occur. You know what I mean? Just someone, you get shrunk in literally one frame transition. You are shrunk to the size of a mouse. I'm supposed to wonder about these handcuffs? Oh yeah, the breadcrumbs here were not really sufficient to the task in front of them. I thought that was cool. I think the whole thing is great. I really like when the sniper guy uses his special ability to shoot apart that sewer pipe that kid was hiding in.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
that's some real specific shit.
Dropping a bullet jacket onto a fly that's in midair. Yeah,
that's very cool. Although I believe Bullseye in the Daredevil film already did that.
Oh, that's a close one. What came out first?
Yeah, what came out first, actually? That's almost the same, time.
Yeah. Colin Farrell as Bullseye doing all that stuff.
That was 2003. Oh, Araki predicted Ben Affleck's Daredevil.
Oh, man.
I mean, that could be the case. It wouldn't surprise me if whoever was working on Daredevil might have... yoink?
That's the price you pay for lifting from Magnolia. A 1999 film.
Yeah, that's super weird. Did y'all notice that when you were watching it?
I did not.
That only stuck out to me?
No, yeah. Thank you.
Later on, does someone get picked up when a plane's picking water up to put out a forest fire? Does that occur?
Well, I mean, there is a deleted scene that Paul F. Tompkins worked really hard on and embarrassed himself while recording, but.
But the one with Patton Oswalt, that's in the series. Patton Oswalt just walks up. He's the warden.
God, Patton Oswalt as Loco Rococo, though.
Oh, shit. That would be pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, since we bring up the Magnolia thing, another thing I just have to tell you, just so that you know about it. In part 4, the character we mentioned before, Rohan, the author's self-insert. Grant knows what I'm about to mention.
Yes.
There's a part...
He has refined tastes.
There's a part in this story where it's not a life or death thing, although he certainly wants it to be because he's a crazy motherfucker who chops his own pinky off during this thing. They're playing dice games with the JoJo of that part. Accidentally, a house fire starts. his house is in flames while they're doing this. A magnifying glass accidentally started a fire or whatever. And like the next episode or whatever, Rohan is very angry at JoJo for his kind of causing his house to burn into flames. And the thing he is most upset about is that all the furniture in his house, got burnt to a crisp, and all of that furniture was from the movie Pretty Woman.
It was
furniture?
like set furniture from
it was
the movie?
Set furniture from the movie Pretty Woman. Remember the chairs from that movie? I sure do.
Yeah. Cool. And this is the self-insert character?
Yes.
Like, he seems to
Rohan's
be...
looking cool. Rohan looks fucking cool.
Rohan has the most outfits, too. He's
Yeah.
always looking... Every arc he shows up and he has a new look. It's great. But I think that Rohan is Araki's idealized self professionally, and then he balances it out by making him the most miserable person to be around.
Yeah, he's a huge fucking asshole. He's like, he sucks, but he rides such a fine line where you still like him, and all the other protagonists in the show keep him around too.
What's his stand?
Oh, that's the one I told you about.
He can read people's memories and write in them and erase their lives.
Oh, got it. Didn't realize the same guy.
He, as the manga artist and the self-insert, he has the most, like, meta-capable stand, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
What a thing. What a series of great outfits.
Is the fact that Rohan has the furniture from Pretty Woman in his house, is that on his little character sheet that Araki makes for everyone?
Yeah. Definitely.
I have to hope so.
I hope
If
so,
it's
too.
not, what an oversight.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a fact you get to in the moment, Like, you've already decided that, and
He
you figure out a way
decided
to represent
yeah.
it. Yeah.
The only reason that they had his house burned down is so he could drop that fact in conversation.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. That makes me want to watch that. So that season is like the one, or that series, whatever, that era. Mm-hmm. Is the Diamond is Unbreakable?
Yes.
Is that the one?
That's part 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is the shiny, happy slice of life season that becomes a serial killer hunt.
Get him. Get that serial killer.
Some people compare it a little bit to Twin Peaks, and you could certainly see inspiration from that in there if you wanted to.
It sounds like you don't believe that.
I don't know how intentional it is, but it certainly shares similarities with it.
Laura Palmer.
Oh yeah,
Arnold
Stan Laura
Palmer.
Palmer.
They're always just drinking Arnold Palmers. Yeah.
Yep. Ray Wise is in the English dub. Yeah.
What would Ray Wise's stand
That
be?
would be great.
If Ray Wise had a stand, what would it be?
Theme from RoboCop.
Isn't his stand just Bob?
Well, yeah. I mean, in the Twin Peaks-verse, right? But there's
Yeah.
got to be like Ray Wise in real life.
In real life, sure.
Yeah. I think it'd be like it would be a martini glass but the olive could talk. It'd have an olive in it, and the olive could talk, and it could shoot a laser out of the like little olive hole.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And it would be called Material Girl for some reason. No one knows why.
Yeah, there you go. It's good. Or it would be called like Eric Wareheim.
Oh, sure, yeah. His stand somehow replicates the shawarma scene from the Tim and Eric movie. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
It's good stuff. This is like on our on the Range Touch Monthly podcast where Danny, my co-host for that, enjoys this game Unmatched. Do you know about this game?
Unmatched?
Okay, so you don't need to. People who are Range Touch people are going to be super pissed off them bringing this up because he will not shut the hell up about it, and we have to talk about it for 20 minutes a month. But what they do is it's like a card game, blah blah blah. But they release these sets that are like, I'll tell you, it's like Battle of Legends, Medusa versus Arthur, like King Arthur,
Hell
versus
yeah.
Alice from Alice in Wonderland versus Sinbad.
I know who I'm betting on.
Right, and so like, and these are each decks, and so often I like to spin up some ideas about like who they haven't done yet, so who should we do, right? And it's always like some weird historical figure, some mythological person, some person from the 19th century that's in the public domain, and then just a random mythological figure.
Okay.
The Monkey King's in there. So stands, now that I have the language of stands, I can talk about that too.
Yes.
So this has given me a new skill to make me unmatched in my talking about this card game, Unmatched.
I had a few like minor points left in my notes to bring up that I don't think are terribly interesting because we touched on them tangentially at least. Like how, this one is a lot more protagonist centric than part 5 to the point that I do think it's to say Irmis's detriment in comparison. But
Oh yeah, she's like barely a character in stuff
Yeah,
that we watch.
Part 6 is like we still kind of sort of haven't been introduced to the full cast.
I mean, one guy seemed to be getting introduced and then he walked out of the room.
Yeah, he walked out of the room and we gotta wait.
He practically said, "You shall wait 9 months to meet me. Good day."
Yeah, we gotta wait for him. We just barely met weather forecast. Irmis does get more focus on her character. Like, let's say next episode. Yeah. And I do like her, but it does take a while before we get any kind of real focus on her. Like at the point we're at right now, Emporio has gotten more focus than Irmis, and like,
What do we think about Emporio? What's up with this little man? This very, very little man.
I thought he was definitely like a clone of some pre-existing character, or a reincarnation perhaps of a villain. Like I definitely thought he was evil.
He is a sinister presence, slinking around in the trash and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, and we find out later that he brings the trash can with him.
Yes.
The trash can was in his pocket the whole
like
time.
Looney Tunes style.
Yeah.
He's going to pull out a whoopee cushion on there and make you sit on it.
Well, why not like a gun, Like you're like a little kid. Like why, in this like murder jail that killed your mother. Your mother was dissolved and you're carrying her crotch around. I don't even know what that thing was.
Yeah, it was her. It's like her tailbone.
Apologies to the tailbone enthusiasts out there for not recognizing.
You're in the
that.
neighborhood. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like just doing all that stuff, right? And it's just like, I don't know. I just thought he was nefarious in some way.
I found Emporio more interesting before he explained ghost rooms, and he was so chatty when it's time to like bring Jolene into the music room and introduce a friend, and like, oh, there goes the other guy. Never mind. And he just lost a lot of mystique when it's like, I can taste this juice but not drink it. Let me demonstrate. By the way, I know for a fact you only have 20 minutes to meet a bird.
Yeah.
Don't waste my time, little guy. Don't waste my... If he were wearing a Sox uniform, I would cut him more slack. I can admit this.
Well, yeah. Is that an official uniform he's wearing? What's that symbol?
It was when these episodes originally dropped straight up a Chicago Cubs uniform. And then they went in and edited the animation. I mean, the same way that Kiss is Smack, and
right.
Whitesnake is Pale Snake. It is now... I guess the Green Dolphins baseball team for Green Dolphin Prison.
So it had a dolphin. Yeah, okay. That's why I was wondering. Cowardice.
I really do like the idea of the ghost room thing as a power. It just feels like it was introduced too soon and ruins the mystique of him. Because I just like this weird, mysterious child who knows way too much about things just kind of appearing and disappearing somehow in a prison. I would have personally preferred to have kept it that way for longer.
If we're going to lose the mystique, I hope we at least keep having very, very strange facts to say. I do enjoy hearing about weather reports nose breath. That's the silver lining here.
Emporio continues to just be a weird, quiet little child who, despite being like a flesh and blood kid, feels very ghostly.
I guess something else I noticed that I want to bring up, like, speaking of last week's episode, it struck me that a lot of Jolene's like big hero moments and really dynamic, like you could slap this on a poster poses, are her emerging from stuff. And I wonder what we think about that. Like, is that tied to her trying to get out from under her dad's legacy? And is that what the emergence is all about? Or is it just cool to be in something and then not be in it anymore?
I think from Araki's standpoint, I think it's really cool to see her burst out of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that
it does keep happening. It keeps happening.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember, because I finished reading all of part 6 a while ago, and I'm trying to remember if she continues to do that in later parts, but I can't quite remember right now. But it certainly happens quite a bit in these first 13 episodes, yeah. It is cool as shit, though.
Yeah. It's rad.
She screams her cocoon open. It's great.
Also the JoJo that just takes the least amount of shit, I think. Even more than Jotaro, who sits there and tolerates your crap for a while before he pounds your face in, and Jolene just wants everything to be over right now.
Them meeting in the visitation room is such a good scene. It's so good to just see the compare and contrast with them actually face to face finally.
It really kind of threw me for a loop that it's the Overwatch cowboy coming out of that.
Yep.
I wasn't into that. That kind of bummed me out.
In the English dub, near the end of part 3, they do make him say, "It's high noon."
That's bad.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to send an official letter in about that. Because he just sounds like the cowboy.
Yeah.
Like, not. I want to criticize a voice actor. Voice acting is very difficult. I can't do it. But it is kind of a bummer to be like, this sounds just so close to.
And like, that's
that guy.
probably part of why he was cast, because the biggest inspiration is Clint Eastwood.
Yep.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. Jotaro is based more than any other source, for characterization at least, on the man with no name. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you were suggesting it could be like the Eastwood of Gran Torino.
Gran Torino gets a shout out in Manga in Theory and Practice, the craft of creating manga.
It does.
What?
Gran Torino was not released when Jotaro was being created in the 80s, of course, but Gran Torino got folded into...
Uh-huh. All right. So this Araki fellow is pretty odd duck.
Yes.
Is what you're telling me.
There's a lot of like things that recur in his work with JoJo that you haven't even really seen in these 13 episodes. This dude fucking loves art history. The statue of David is like, once you hit like part 5, all the dudes are based off of David, basically, like physically. It's in a later part, but like he loves the golden ratio also, and that like straight up becomes a big thing in a later part of JoJo, the concept of the golden ratio.
Wow.
Yeah, like for instance, say the golden ratio is so perfect that objects fired in the spiral of the golden ratio perhaps generate unnatural amounts of destructive force. Let's say. Yeah, a lot of art history shit. He fucking loves Italy. That's why part 5 is all Italy. But even before part 5, there are tons of excuses to put Italian cuisine or history in there. This is a guy who everything he loves makes it into JoJo in some form.
And of course, he has like little artist statements as, bumpers and in book jackets. I've linked one in the chat. And every time I see one of these, I just imagine it being read by Will Ferrell's Harry Carey.
Oh, God.
And it fits perfectly.
Uh-huh. I'm just going to read this out loud.
Yeah,
can I do that?
Please.
Where's this from?
I don't know what volume or whatever, but this is just one of his author statements that...
I really admire the idea of a tree house. Those things where American kids make a hiding place up in a tree somewhere in a big garden and play poker and that sort of thing. Man, I wish I could do something like that. Now, in brackets, sidebar, this is an adult man. He could do that if he wanted to.
Yeah.
Okay, back to the thing. But now I'm getting fixated on the idea of someone living on a mountain ski lift. A life house. It would be an all-electric, super high-tech house. You'd move through the air on cables. You'd have everything you need, and it would be comfortable and easygoing. Man, Mamazuku-san's awesome. I just love the idea of harvesting a field from right above it, and then being able to cook it straight away. Mamazuku-san, please invite me over sometime. What the fuck is this? What is this? What is this introducing?
Something about burly men punching each other is what comes right after that. Like,
This is him talking about Superfly, right? Yeah.
this might be an idea that becomes Superfly. There is a stand that is basically this.
Yeah.
Who has a treehouse?
Who
And he lives in a
there
ski
is
resort?
like a off-the-grid freegan who looks like an elf, who lives inside a disused electrical tower and has turned it into like the ideal treehouse.
His stand, Superfly, inhabits the electrical tower and causes it so that whoever walks within the confines of the electrical tower cannot leave the boundaries of it without being turned into metal. So you get trapped in there.
He is a prisoner of his own super rad treehouse stand because it's sort of like a hot potato trap.
Yeah, so he desperately tries to lure people in there so he can escape.
Cool. That's going to come up again later. I'm going to need to know that.
And this even comes up, like this is a theory we both had where, like, if anything very odd and like kind of super specific gets said or is the premise of a fight or whatever, and it feels way too specific, it is almost definitely because Araki was interested in that subject or read about it in like a wiki hole style situation, and then had to put it into his work in some way. And when we read his book about making manga, that is exactly what is happening. That's why
So he's kind of like a Japanese Stephen King in that way.
perhaps,
One could make the comparison. I mean, you've seen the fan art one of our listeners made, if you'll recall, of Stephen King and his stand. Let me.
Oh yes, I have. Yes, I did. I'm sorry. I'm like, what are you? But yes, now I do remember.
He's even wearing Jolene's pants in this, or at least he's got the danglies bolted to the legs, at least.
Oh yeah, look at that! Wow, that's right.
That's
great.
That's
That's
lobster
great
keel art on Twitter, all one word.
Well, I don't know why you're not reading their actual username, which is Nippleless Cage.
Good.
That's great. This is scary. I think Stephen King should have a big beard in this image. That's my feedback. But the crotch is right in terms of JoJo's. Like, the pants are way too big for some reason. But it works great. A+. Is there a reason that the priest is Italian?
Is there a reason that? I mean, we could just say that Araki loves Italy, but I don't know. I don't know.
He's a Roman Catholic priest.
Yes.
Specifically.
How Catholic is Florida? I honestly don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
originally settled by the Spanish, there's...
Right. Well, I guess I have a bigger question, and maybe, Chip, this is a thing you can answer, having read the whole thing. You don't have to spoil anything, obviously, but I guess you can tell me if the question is answered or not.
Right.
Poochie is brought into, who's Dio?
Yep.
Okay, so Dio talks to him like a billion years ago, whatever, in the 80s, about his plan to get to heaven. And within Roman Catholicism, all you need to do is... do the ritual, right, and get your last rites, and you get to go to heaven.
Right.
So is the plan not just trick someone into becoming a priest and giving you all the stuff that sends you to heaven?
No, it is.
Is that not just the plan? That seems very easy to me.
No, it is a far different plan.
This is why I think he's a Dioist. I just think he's wearing the vestments, but not really Catholic.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, got it. Because that seemed easy. That seemed pretty efficient.
Oh, no, this requires far more work to get into heaven. This is a lot more complicated, multi-step plan.
It seems to involve Dio's bones and a man named Sports Maximum.
Okay, cool. Interesting. Yeah, I just thought, that would be kind of like a Departed situation,
Right.
You just got to get your man on the inside who's going to help you. But, okay. Well, that's interesting.
Oh.
Maybe I'll wait. Maybe when the whole thing comes out.
Right.
Because you said it's coming out in like
just a few days
from this recording.
now,
a few days. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So yeah, maybe I'll finish the thing. If I do, I'll send you a message. I'll tell you what I thought.
Sure. Maybe not 6 hours a day. Maybe don't do that.
That's the thing is like it's gonna feel good to just like sit down and watch one and do something else with my day. That's gonna change the dynamic a little bit.
Yeah. I guess one more thing. How did you like the episode where White Snake in the English dub kept saying McQueen?
I did worry. I did wonder what was up with that. What was up with that?
He just likes saying McQueen like that.
He just...
Oh, okay.
And Poochie doesn't talk like that, but White Snake does. It's clearly an actor's choice to have...
Well, they're kind of different guys, right?
Yeah. This is a thing that happens in JoJo's. Some stands have their own personality. Because a lot of stands are just ghosts that punch or do whatever, and they never...
Right. Every stand-in user, at least voiced stands, share a voice actor. That is an immutable rule.
Okay.
but the like relationship between stand and user is often unique. Like they're always finding little tricks, little differences, where like the standard is it's my guy that does what I say. Like Jolene and Stone Free's relationship, if you can call it that, pretty standard. But there's all these little exceptions and little shades of exception.
Yeah, like there's a very good boy in part 4 whose stand is more like a Digimon because it evolves into multiple different types of stands until
until one becomes
upgraded
very
one.
sassy and spells out its swears.
Yeah, he's a very nice boy, but his stand is kind of rude and swears. There's the guy we mentioned before who has the little minions living in his gun named Sex Pistols, which are like little babies he has to be a parent figure for. There's Trish, who has Spice Girl in part 5,
who's like her stand is her most self-actualized version of herself.
Yeah, she's like a life coach for herself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, McQueen. McQueen.
That makes the English dub for me, is just the way he says McQueen like 20 times in that one episode.
So are the English dubs just considered to be bad?
No. I would say the first parts is pretty rough because they have a whole lot of English characters and no English actors.
Yeah, a lot of bad British accents.
Yeah.
But once you hit like part 3 and onwards, I think it hits its stride, especially starting with part 4. And I think what also kind of changes isn't
we
so
were
much
constantly
the actual...
praising the part 4 dub. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not even just because of better voice actors or whatever. I think it's just a bump up in the actual direction they're given, as well as a bump up in quality in the actual localization of the dialogue. Especially with part 4, where like the all the characters that are teenagers really start to sound and feel like teenagers in the way they talk and interact with each other. And yeah, ever since that, like I think every dub has been pretty dang good. Part 5's dub in particular, like I mentioned when we were going through part 5, was like almost transformative for me because I watched part 5, when it was coming out weekly, and so it was only the Japanese dub with more stilted subtitles, which either made it certain fights harder to understand or just made the story beats a lot less enjoyable. And then when I rewatched it again, it was all in English. It was like, whoa, I like this a lot more than I did the first time.
Cool.
But even part 1's rougher dub still has the guy that plays Dio playing Dio, and he's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, so keeping one guy the whole time. Is the cowboy Jotaro the whole time?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't talk much. If he's a very silent man.
Yeah, part 3, he's just a very rude dude who doesn't talk much.
He hates everyone, but he loves his mama.
Oh yeah, secretly.
He
He's
secretly
mean to his
loves
mom.
his mama.
But
Is he Italian? Is he like an Italian American guy?
All right, so Jonathan Joestar is a Victorian fancy lad. He has sex one time in his life and dies.
Yep.
His son, he names his son after his father, George Joestar II. He fights in World War I and dies. There is no story about him. He is just a skipped generation. Wow. His son is Joseph Joestar. He likes to watch his mom bathe, but he doesn't know it's his mom at that point.
Oh, that's not good. That's bad.
He fights a lot of Nazis, makes friends with one Nazi.
Yep.
Just like one good Nazi, or
he
just
is not a good Nazi.
He is not a good Nazi.
Bad Nazi.
At the end of part 2, when you get like a 80s movie style like freeze frame of all the characters and what happened to them after the end of the story, the Nazi who helped kind of sort of defeat the villain at the end of part 2, who's also a cyborg, by the way, with 3 million guns in his tummy.
Cool.
His final freeze frame is he would die in the Battle of Stalingrad.
Oh, shit. I thought he was definitely going to end up at Nuremberg, but that's just as good.
There's no justice in this world.
Who, by the way, his character design is the actual inspiration for the design of Guile in Street Fighter.
All right, great, cool, excellent. All right.
So that guy, after his teenage adventures in 1939, has a daughter who is the mother of Jotaro Kujo, the cowboy man.
Uh-huh. Is she Italian?
She is not. She is by that point American because the family, starting with Joseph, has moved from England to the United States.
Got it. So he just loves his mama inexplicably for no Italian aligned reason.
No. Wow. She marries a Japanese jazz musician who is never depicted, only mentioned. I guess he tours a lot, and that is Jotaro's father, and why his last name is Kujo.
I see. That's interesting. I did wonder about Kujo, which is a very specific regional name in the U.S.
Mostly given to dogs in your experience.
Well, yeah, that's a big part.
Yeah.
In literature, certainly. So I did wonder about that. If we're closing things up, I did want to, since you said McQueen several times, that is maybe the funniest stand power that I saw in the 12 episodes. Yeah. Like a man who is so goofily suicidal that he attempts to murder himself, and in a playful way, like it's played for big laughs.
Oh yeah,
and it works. It's very funny. I enjoyed it.
I guess let's finish the family tree, because here's where it gets weird. So Jotaro's grandpa Joseph has an affair late in life, so that his son Josuke, the Part 4 protagonist, is younger than his grandson.
Okay, all right. So there's two different lineages of the Joestar blood?
Only two? Let's talk about Part 5.
Please don't. Okay. Oh no. No. Okay.
Because when you see Dio in those flashbacks where you see Dio, his personal body he was born with is only from the neck up. He stole the first protagonist, Jonathan Joestar's body, from the neck down in order to live as an immortal conquering vampire. And in that form, he had a kid who is the protagonist of Part 5. So he is both the son of Dio and Jonathan, the Victorian fancy lad, living in the year 2000, becoming a mafioso.
The ultimate synthesis.
Yes.
And he synthesizes Italian energies.
Through his Italian mother. So yes, that's why.
Okay.
And his name,
all right, okay.
And his name is Giorno Giovanna.
So his JoJo is a G-I-O.
Whoa. Okay.
And now you've going back to relatively normal, like, generations of family. We have Jolene, the daughter of Jotaro, great granddaughter of Joseph, and great granddaughter of Jonathan.
I feel like I've been JoJo'd up in the face and neck. And just that, like, boom, 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 boom. I love that when they're punching stuff, they yell the whole time, too.
Yes.
That's great to me.
You can tell whose dad is whose by what they yell when they punch.
Yep.
Oh, really?
Jolene and Jotaro have the same aura battle cry.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
And because Giorno is technically the son of Dio, he goes muda muda muda, which is Japanese for, like, useless or futile.
Oh. Well,
and that's JoJo.
I don't know. Are there other pieces of information I need to know going forward?
That's more than enough. I mean, you had zero information and did just fine without it.
Yeah, I've attained a lifetime's amount of information. I feel like I've now experienced the entirety of the program that you've been running for years.
We hit the highlights. We talked about
hours.
Stroheim. We talked about Dio.
It's real stuff. Well, this is the sweet spot kind of episode.
We didn't talk about Dan of. There's a guy named Dan of Steel because they had to localize Steely Dan. That's the last thing you need to know.
Yeah.
Well, So sorry. This is the thing I in a general sense, for, like, thinking about promotion for this episode.
Sure.
It's an optimal episode for appealing to almost no one, because you have to have seen everything in the series up to episode 12, which is, just the narrowest band of human beings, really. That's the hardcore fans of the show that you have right now.
That's the hardcore fans of one calendar year ago. Yes.
Right. And we have peppered in a huge amount of information that they already know. So that's going to be so annoying for them. to like actually sit and listen through. So it's truly an episode. So, let me know, at C Kunzelman on Twitter. Let me know if this is a suboptimal episode.
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to tell you what I think the most common response you're going to get, which is that while you have read JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean very, very, accurately and engaged, you have not read the fandom.
Oh, no.
JoJo's fans love to just dump completely contextless, bizarre points on non-fans. They love it so much, they will like hearing us do that to you.
I am aware of that.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Because I only know random things. I knew that Steely Dan thing already. And as you said it, I thought, why the fuck do I know this? Why do I know? Why are you telling me a thing I already know? Where would I have learned that? And it is because these damn JoJo stands. Mm-hmm. That's okay. Well, let me know. You let me know if this is the worst episode or the best episode. And if it is is this on Apple Podcasts?
Yep. It is.
Well, people should give it 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. They should hit that 5-star button. Leave a little review, and leave a review that says, the show was only good because Cameron was on it. Do one of those. Do one of those, backhanded compliments.
Yes.
Like, this was the best episode because they brought in, this guest. But no, this was great. This is fun. I enjoyed watching the show. I thought there was a 50-50 shot where, I would do all this and be pissed off at the two of you. And I thought there would be, an affective danger to that, right? Because I like the two of you a lot.
Again,
big fans of your work.
Another reason that when I had this idea to have brand new, fresh eyes come in at this point, one of the things these particular fresh eyes was that listening to a lot of range touch stuff, I know that whatever you're talking about is something that you really enjoy and engage with, or totally does nothing for you, you have something interesting to say about it regardless, and you set that aside. So I thought we would be in good hands if you did say yes, and you did, so thank you.
Yeah, I'm truly cursed with the willingness to talk about it.
Yeah.
If only I had the sense in my mind to just go, no, I'm good. I don't need to learn about another thing. But yeah, well, so I guess the last question I have for y'all, I know that we're running long now, but I do have this question. So there was this charity stream a few months ago.
Yeah.
And
there was.
A certain dynamic duo appeared on the program. Mm-hmm. And there were some donations and blah, blah, whatever. We don't have to get too into it. But there's this Zork LP.
I thought I was supposed to eat Zork on camera. I got some things.
Yeah, no, you messed that one up. That's, I'm glad you did that. But and those floppy disks are hard. I understand that you went through a lot, but I'm really curious about that. People have been asking me about it. And I'm now that I've got you on mic, I'm going to grill you about it.
I think the big thing, honestly, is just we need to get someone to draw up our little VTuber people.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've heard that, everyone.
Yep.
Everyone who's listening, they need little VTubers.
For those who need some details filled in, the charity stream being referred to is the 2022 edition of Prepare to Give, a charity stream run by the Range Touch Network, and we placed a donation incentive for our 2-ish hours that was met within the first. That if people raised a certain amount of money while we were the live guests, we would do a Let's Play of Zork, the classic text adventure game Zork. In conversation, there was feature creep.
There was. And Chip did keep going, I've got a good idea for this. I've got a great idea for that. I got a really good idea for doing this. And we're going, well, it's just text. I don't know. And he's going, yeah, that's great. I've got a really good idea for this one. So yeah, there was feature creep for sure. Mm-hmm.
So that's why it is an undelivered, an extant reward that is coming. It is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, I'll go on record, and I think I said this at the time. If you want little VTubers made, I'll pay for it. I'll match the donation to get the VTubers made. I'll speed this process up. I'm calling bluffs left and right over here.
All right.
This is Future Grant butting into the plugs section to once again plug Hello Winter's shirt, Bizarre Ocean Blues, available only today, January 2nd on the Yeti, THEYETEE.com. And now Cameron's plugs.
Yeah, absolutely. So Range Touch is a podcast network that I do with Michael Lutz and Danny, where we do shows about various different media properties. It's very similar. If you listen to the show, then you will like our shows. I feel very confident.
Particularly if you liked the episode I keep referring to on Manga in Theory and Practice, listen to Game Study Buddies. I took their format for that.
Yeah, good. Good. You know what? It's a good format. But yeah, so we do Game Study Buddies, which is a show about reading academic books of game studies and just talking about them, seeing what they have to offer, and talking about what we think are interesting about them. So if you can go to rangetouch.com and see what episodes we've done. If you're interested in learning about game studies, but maybe don't have time to, say, go get a PhD or something like that. So we do that. We do Just King Things, which is reading through the works of Stephen King in publication order. We're in the early 90s right now. Our December episode is 4 Past Midnight, which has a bunch of stuff, including the Langoliers in it, if you're familiar with that. The bonus episode there, which is behind our Patreon wall. I'm plugging my Patreon on your podcast. Apologies. But we got a Patreon that has some bonus content for our various shows. And we've done the mini series with Nick Weiger from... as a special guest, Nick Weiger was there, who was on he's on Doughboys, he's on Get Played, that kind of stuff. So that's a really great episode. So we do Just King Things, we do Game Study Buddies, we do Homestuck Made This World, which probably, if you care about JoJo's, that's probably the closest thing for you as a general listener. We're reading through Homestuck and we talk about it in a critical way. Michael is really kind of running the show on that and is reading forum threads from Something Awful and a bunch of other stuff too, but really Something Awful and also Tumblr to kind of historically situate all of the parts of Homestuck that we talk about. So
placing Homestuck back into history, I think, is how it's been described.
Right. And so giving it some context and things like that. If there's one thing I am the Grant for that show, meaning that I've never read Homestuck before. I was not part of the fandom really. So I get to kind of go in and be a little goofball, and Michael's an expert in it, and so knows what's
so
up.
When you get to the ending, you're going to bring in a third person.
Exactly. And be like, hey, you need to read this whole thing.
Just the ending.
Tell us what's up. Tell us what you think. I'm gonna write that down. Maybe I should do that. So that's a really fun show. And then for the bonus episodes that we do for that, we dig into some of the ephemera. So we've done fan animations and kind of talked about the changing style of fan animations over the years as Homestuck went. We've done episodes on the Neverending Story. We just did one on Detective Pony, the very infamous / famous fanfic that is a rewriting of a pony story for young adults that has the characters from Homestuck in it, but which also heavily references the work of French philosopher Jacques Derrida. And so thankfully Michael and I are one of like 9 people on the planet who can pull all that off. So, and know what the hell's going on. So that's the kind of stuff we do. We've got Too Much Future as well. Too Much Future is back. It's a show where we play through Fallout in order through all the games. Sorry, I'm talking about every show we do, but, I want to give a little promo. Mm-hmm. They've listened for 2 hours already. But yeah, so we play through all the Fallout games in order. By the time you're hearing this, we're probably 4 weeks into Fallout 4. So if you want to hear us just kind of talk about Fallout as it goes, we've got 50 some odd episodes of that too. So that's all the stuff, and there's some other things in there too, but those are the big major shows that are on right now. Some other things are on hiatus. They'll be coming back next year. And importantly, if this is coming out in January, then we will be a mere 6 weeks or so from starting a new show. Ooh. Because Homestuck will be over at some point. And so if you're interested in directing us toward a thing or having some sort of influence on that, you should join our Discord, or you should tweet at us at Ranged Touch, follow us at Ranged Touch, or you should join our Patreon.
I have my suggestion on record, so please join the Discord, tweet at them, and cancel me out.
That's a good one. I don't want to do it, but that is a really good one. That's a good idea. I've been thinking about this anime. It's on Netflix. It's about these people with superpowers.
Oh yeah.
They're they're these evil villains. They're these evil villains who kind of stand in front of them all the time, and they talk to them. And then there are these like charlatan goofballs that creepily hang around and call at them from the shadows. It's British bake something. I think it's pretty interesting. It's been going for a long time, so you have to read the manga really to understand what's going on, but it's pretty interesting. All right, well, that's my 5 minutes of promo. Sorry.
everything he just said comes with my highest recommendation as well. And we will be back here, just the two of us, talking about the first episodes of that second batch drop. What took the world 9 months is only going to take us 2 weeks, because we are coming at you with Kiss of Love and Revenge 1 and 2, and also Ultra Security House Unit. That's episodes 13 through 15 of Stone Ocean.
I won't be on that episode.
But Cameron, once again, a big thank you for joining us. I guess I should apologize. Once the scheduling issues became clear that Michael would not be joining us, I didn't edit the outro to last week, so there is a big lie that got sent out. I'm sorry.
The statement he wanted me to read.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
So this is just, statement maybe is a big promise. So he said this. I said, is there a statement you want me to read in your absence?
So you called it a statement before it existed.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. That was on me. He said this. If there's still time, I want you to sing I've Seen All Good People by Yes. Now, I don't know what that song is. If you could do this for me, do you have like an outro theme that you do?
We do. We can replace it with,
can you...
I don't think we'll get in too much trouble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so please let me, unless you have any other outro to say, I can say, this is Michael. Michael lets a statement that he wants you to hear, which is, I've Seen All Good People by Yes.
To be continued.
To be continued.
Take it away, Yes.
I've seen all good people turn their heads each day, so satisfied I'm on my way. Take a straight and stronger course to the corner of your life. Make the white queen run so fast. She hasn't got time to make you mine.
Everybody ready? Got your notes out or whatever?
I didn't take a single note.
Okay.
It's all in my head.